Alrighty.
It's a good hat, man.
What's going on, Hype Crew?
Nice
We've won
Hype Crew.
Crew
You got some,
by far.
some backlash.
Hard yarners. I just don't like that. But
Get off the
let's
gear.
do
They
it.
say.
Yeah. You said that, cunt.
I said it, and
Anyway, welcome.
and I agree with it.
Welcome.
Welcome.
We are joined today by Cam Watkins.
Cheers, guys.
And before we kick off, I'm going to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, this episode is brought to you by Kahuna Golf.
yeah.
Kahuna Golf. They've got a wonderful little discount code for everyone.
Yep.
Hard Yarns 15% off. So you get to their website, you can get all their attire or their
Yep.
apparel, and they're working on a new range, a bit
Nice.
retro
A driving range.
New driving range. Now, new range of apparel,
Yep.
t-shirt and stuff. So that'll be kind of cool.
If you're a
Looking
top
forward-
level Patreon, hit us up. We've got a few hats that we can sling your way.
Yep, and he's he's a like-minded individual. He's a fucking legend, and just a local bloke trying to make make something for the people.
And you can do your spinal flow exercises before you go for your drive, which you'll hear about shortly. We're also sponsored by alltradescover.com.au.
As you can see behind our beautiful guest there, if you're watching.
Small business,
If you're just listening.
tradies, sole traders, they'll look after for you all of your insurance needs.
Yep, hopefully nothing happens on site while you're doing some tradie work. But, if you're going to get covered by anyone, hit up All Trades. And
Cover.com.au. And
John
John's told
Elliott.
us a few listeners have hit him up. So keep supporting us, supporting those that support us, because he said that he's going to extend.
Yeah.
Most likely. We hit a few more
Yep,
KPIs,
yep,
baby.
That's fucking
And
good.
I fucked up. I didn't try Vibe Culture. So I wrote myself off, and I didn't use Vibe Culture to wake up. So I'm going to go have one after this.
Okay.
So Vibe
Yeah, because
Culture.
you're a little bit hungover, but I've been using it every day,
Yeah.
and genuinely can tell the difference. There's one day I missed. I missed one day.
Vibe culture.
Yeah, and it's
They
just
make like a tropical punch sort of wake up
nice.
drink.
it's all
get around that.
it's all plant based, so as in from natural ingredients, and it's got amino acids. It's got like a Japanese
vitamins.
herb in there.
I feel
or
like there's going to be
something
some new tropics or something.
Yeah,
like that
and,
going on. Could be keen.
It's
Yeah,
nice.
bit of
It's really good. It smells good and it tastes good.
Yeah, electrolytes.
A little bit
and,
of caffeine.
There's a little bit of caffeine.
I
I
hope
think
so.
there's
Yeah.
about as much as like a cup of tea in there, so it's
Yeah,
not over
beautiful.
the top,
Yeah.
but there's a
Clean.
bit going on.
A good clean high.
And if
Yeah,
and
a
I
nice
have,
clean high like breath work.
I'm sober at the moment. I'm 28 days sober, but Delby, we really needed to see.
Yeah.
So Delby, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to get drunk tomorrow. So.
Okay, all right. No, I'm still hungover, so I'll go smash one after this.
Fuck yeah.
But maybe I could do breath work because Cam Watkins is here, and we
Yes.
spoke about breath work. What else did we cover?
Oh, well, yeah, just physio stuff, chronic
Yeah.
pain.
You had the back pain at the start.
Yeah, we touched on the hero's journey and just learning to follow our intuition and getting out of our head a little bit there. So, yeah,
It
had a
all,
good chat.
all comes down to a little bit of balance,
Yeah.
gaining momentum, a few
That's-
little
that's exactly right.
baby steps at a time. Oh, and a little side note, 5 years ago yesterday is when the podcast journey began.
Nice.
Started made the little the album art, the real fake news podcast.
nice.
So
Yeah.
5 years ago, that's how it started. It's a little baby step, and it's evolved into this. So
And talk about momentum and that snowball effect, right? It's just like...
fucking oath. And that's how it started. It started by being accountable. So fuck yeah. Yeah, you're going to love this episode if you like that sort of journey stuff. So
But we usually say let's get hard, but today we're going to say let's get hard, then soft, then hard, then soft. All about balance, baby.
can you say let's get soft so I can say let's get
Let's
hard?
get soft.
Let's get hard.
Welcome to Hard Yarns Podcast.
I am fucking fat.
Anything Chris White says, please disregard it.
5D is actually a state of being. It's a unity consciousness.
That was Hard Yarns with me, Frankie Rose. So I'm going to throw it over to your co-host.
Daniel Delby.
And Cameron Branch.
I would do this and then I'd gong.
Free in attendance for the millions listening at home. Let's get hard.
Good shot, man. You look good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's that's the thing about the bright lights, Delby. It just shows every little
Nowhere to hide.
nowhere to hide indeed. So, mate, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you, boys.
welcome to
It's
the
good to be here.
Yeah. You come at I don't know how many people had to recommend you to come on, but people always go, yeah, you got to get this guy on, or you got to get this girl on, you got to get someone. Well, Delby would say not girls, but no, but you got to get this person on, and I'm always a bit like, yeah, okay, I'll look into it. And generally, I'm probably not arrogant with the way, but I just sort of like, no, like if we want to get someone on, we'll find them. Good. But this was like 6 or 7 people, and the more and more I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it, and then it just got thrown in my face. You fucking got to get this guy on.
Plot twist, it's Cam.
It's Cam just doing some like, hey, can you message this guy? But Carly, my neighbour / West Coast Fever coach. She recommended you, and then Corey White, one of our most. Well, he's definitely our most downloaded guest every time.
Yeah, such a legend. Absolutely.
So, but yeah, you come very highly recommended. So, I don't know, potentially the best way to start is to just tell us a bit about yourself for the listeners and what you do and what you specialise in and why you're on.
Yeah. Sweet. Thank you. Thank you, lads. Yeah, look, I'm a physio, a sports physio, I guess, to start with. Mm-hmm. So that's how I, make a living, in my sort of Monday to Friday work, and then outside of that, running Centre Space Yoga Studio just over the hill here, which is a beautiful little project now that just took over ownership there. I've taught there for the last 3 or 4 years, just yoga and movement and breath, and just, that's probably a passion of mine. And so between those two things, it keeps me busy, and then outside of that, that's probably a good place to start.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly for Delby, who fucking loves the physio stuff for the back. So.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, chronic pain we were just chatting about before. So it's a bit of a thing for you, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those ones where like I kind of know what I got to do, but it's just finding the motivation. And then when you get sore, you're like, fuck, I've got to find the motivation. But mine was a L5 S1 herniated disc. I can't remember. It was like big. It was a huge bulge.
Yeah, okay. You would have been up shit creek for a little bit.
It was fucked, bro.
Yeah.
Like I was 21. It was really weird because like I went to a chiro like my whole life. Mum worked for a chiro, so I had free chiro.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that I think that's what weakened my back because the same thing happened to both my brothers.
Yep.
But it's not my dad, not genetics.
Right.
Then I was playing footy and I did my hammy, and then after that, like my back got real sore, and it never recovered. And the physio said it was like a sprained SI joint.
Yeah.
But over time, like it got to a point where I couldn't walk, had to lift myself to get out of bed, like a hot iron for like months. Found the MRI and it was fucking cooked.
Yeah.
But the worst thing was I got the surgery, the discectomy.
Oh, okay.
And then the surgeon acted like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
I was like 21.
You'll be right.
You'll be playing footy in 8 weeks.
No worries.
So I'm like, all right, after 2 weeks, I'm walking around 4 weeks, I'm drinking piss, like Sunday sessions. And then it went again.
Yeah, right.
And then on the other side, and then it went again. So
I'm interested, and you're a perfect person to ask, is the surgery the worst thing he could have done?
No, not necessarily, and that's a whole rabbit hole if we want to go down.
Yeah, well, we can go through either like surgical, because I understand that surgery is pretty important. Like for Delby,
it felt like it was the only option for me at that time. But again, I was quite young. But I remember the pain being relentless and never ceasing.
I can only imagine from my understanding of pain and nerve pain particularly.
Yeah.
Probably the worst. That'd be a 10 out of 10, is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Like electricity constant down the back and the leg there. So, if someone comes to me like that, particularly, thank you.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, cool. Particularly if it's early on in the piece. So let's say if it's within 4 weeks, it's still what we would refer to as in the acute setting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be jumping up and down saying we need to get a scan even and go for surgery.
Yeah.
I would be interested in looking after the person, looking at some exercises, interestingly managing the stress around that time.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of fuel on the fire in the situation, which I'm sure we're going to delve into.
Diet as well, would that play a factor?
Yeah, not as much in the acute setting, probably in the long-term management of the whole thing. But we're not thinking surgery yet. However, if we're moving into the chronic stages and you've got this nasty disc bulge that's pushing on the nerve, basically research tells us that you can go either way, that surgery, might be effective and that conservative might be effective. There's not one thing to say necessarily one is more effective than the other.
Yeah.
Interestingly, even things that pop up in the research is like the bigger the disc bulge, the more likely it's actually going to pull back a little bit and actually come away from the nerve, which is an interesting thing. And the longitudinal research tells us, we're not sure which yields the kind of best results. But again, it comes down to whether you get surgery or not, it's probably about controlling the controllables. And like you said, you know what you need to do, and I probably, this sort of thing. So it really, in the end, comes down to managing the body, managing the nervous system, and doing the things that are going to be helpful for that back and for the nerve and things like that.
So I think now I need to just build my glutes and build all the muscles around my core and my ass, because my ass is fucking...
It's such
you got that flat bum situation going on. Yeah, we need to build that backside.
I've noticed just by adding single leg Bulgarians to my
it's a winner.
regime.
Yeah.
Fuck, like...
You got to love and hate them.
Yeah, back pain's almost completely gone, and that's just one. Clamshells I've added recently.
Yeah,
I really pushed myself the other day in a run, and I felt my hamstring.
Yeah.
Like tendinopathy style, like it's upright near the fucking glute, top of the hamstring. It's been like that for about 3-4 months, and really extending myself the other day. I felt it, and then doing clamshells that night because Carly recommended it because she's got hamstring.
Good. I've told her to do that many times.
Yeah, she's got the hamstring tendinopathy.
That's right.
Tendinopathy. She recommended do some clamshells, do some glute activation stuff. So I did it the next morning. The pain was gone from one.
Legendary.
It's crazy.
I was
Legendary.
like, it's all connected. But the legs, adding legs, because I had similar to Delby with back pain. Like, there's at one point I was stuck like an L shape, bent over for like 7 days.
That's with his ex-partner.
and knowing, like Delby, knowing that legs and over a consistent amount of time was what was going to improve my back's issues. But I wouldn't do it.
No,
it didn't look good.
That's true. But then, we come back to it later on, and having a good, strong backside probably isn't the worst thing that you can be doing. I read about it a decade ago, referring to it as the combat chassis, which is if you were going to be going to war, carrying heavy loads, walking hills, carrying blokes, whatever, you want a good, strong set of legs and a good, strong backside, because that's the thing that's going to look after you and that's going to help protect the back.
Yeah, because and I think you were similar with your results. My one was whenever I went to the back specialist, I was stuck, like rigid, and you'd get the locked up and you get the spasms. And they said a lot of that is your back protecting itself.
That's right.
Yeah.
From having another issue. It's just like, well, this disc is going to pop out and I'm going to lose all structure, so fuck it, we're going to tighten up just to save it, and then they need to relax.
Yeah, so then, it's one of these things, right? So, Delby, your thoughts are I need a stronger set of glutes and stronger core muscles, and it's been interesting what's happened over the last 20 years in physio, because that was the kind of general thinking, say, around 10 years ago, which is, okay, you got a bad back, we need a stronger set of glutes and a stronger core. And then everyone's, getting into the gym with these strong glutes and this strong core, and you got this strong ass set of glutes and strong core. When that back goes into spasm, you're really up shit creek, because you've got all this muscle wound up. You can't even move, right? Yeah. So then it's going, okay, well, maybe that's not the thing. And we've got all these people really wound up, jacked up, running around stressed to the eyeballs with this bulky muscle everywhere. When they go down hard. You know what I'm saying? So then this guy, Peter O'Sullivan, New Zealand physio and now professor, he changed the whole game. And then it was all about getting all loose and relaxed.
Mobility
and so much of it came around that protectiveness. So then enters the belief system around, you had this belief system around you've got this vulnerable disc, right? You both have basically said it, in this fear of, okay, if you let it happen, the disc is going to pop out, push on the nerve, you'll be up shit creek. So then any belief system or any even awareness of pain leads to fear, and you've even got this image of the disc pushing on the nerve.
Subconsciously you're protecting it.
Yeah. So we need to understand that the spine is like the most robust structure in the body, right? The spine and the pelvis. If you were going to get hit by a car, the the spine, because it houses the spinal cord, which is, the most sensitive and, important structure in the body outside of the brain, the vertebrae is robust and the discs are robust, but our belief system around that vulnerability and our fear around what it is to have a bad back in society today freaks us out, right? So we fear the bending forward and we fear, back injury. Whereas you look at different cultures in the world like Southeast Asia and that in Africa, they spend most of their day bent over in the fields doing what they're doing, squatting, bent over, all nice and relaxed. They don't even know what back pain is half the time. They might have a bit of a bad back and stretch it out and get moving, but they don't have this necessary fear around it. Whereas like, imagine you're a bricklayer, the thought of a bad back, because my dad had a bad back and that ruined his career, there's this fear around it. So you get the pain and then all of your history comes racing back and then, enter this kind of context around the pain. Like you don't want to go down that. And I can see you thinking about it in your head. And
it's so frustrating because I catch myself thinking and then then I try go, don't think about it.
Yeah.
And I consciously try not to stress, but then I'm like,
it's
fuck.
like you're still thinking about it.
Perpetual circle.
It's like saying, don't think about a pink elephant.
Yeah.
You're thinking about that.
Oh, try not to.
Because I read a book on, I can't remember what it was. It was somebody wrote a book about pain and nerves and our thoughts on pain.
Understanding pain.
It might have been that one. Yeah. So I was trying to convince myself that it's just my body sending an electrical pulse to my thing and it's not as bad as I think it is. But then like the flip side is like days like today, I feel really good. And
maybe it was the booze last night.
Maybe,
maybe you're relaxed. That's exactly right. Movement, relaxed, you feel good. It's the last thing you're thinking about.
And it gives me hope because I'm like, if I could have days where it doesn't hurt, then it means that something's happening in my body where it's not hurting.
That's right.
So I should be able to get to that point all the time.
Yeah.
So that has helped me in the last couple of years because I've gone for periods without it and I'm like, sick. It's going to be like that. But in the period while it's still flared up and it's fucked, is like, ugh.
So
hurry up and get there.
There must be triggers along the way, I guess. But is there a way that you can go, right, I'm Delby's fixed that, these triggers he can then afford to go into? Like, so for example, like I see you come in every time you have a big weekend, I know you're going to come in sore with a sore back. Like there must be a point where he could get to a point where him having a big weekend isn't going to cause that issue anymore.
Yeah, look, it's a retraining of the nervous system, right? And so that first point we've touched on the nervous system. That's the big thing, right? The nervous system and managing the nervous system in our life is everything, right?
Yeah.
So for that person that walks into my office and I'm kind of getting a gentle gauge on if I feel that they're really tense and they're wound up or if they're pretty chilled out and relaxed. And I listen to their story on their pain experience and if there's a heap of fear around the, re-injury and listening to their belief system around what's going on. Because again, if you get that pain and all the fears come flooding in about, oh fuck, here we go again, and then that causes you to be wound up and it causes you to be protective, then you're feeding into the cycle. Whereas if you know that, okay, we've got a sensitive back, there's a bit of a history there, but if you get a bit of back tightness, if it stays particularly local to the back, you're not getting the nerve pain, then there's probably not a huge concern around it. It's probably more muscle tightness. We don't need to raise alarm bells just from a bit of back tightness there. We're not pushing on the nerve and nothing like that is happening. Then we can stay nice and relaxed. And then if you have a management strategy that, okay, if I do these stretches when it gets tight, then chances are it's going to settle down. Then you have that internal locus of control. You have that control in the situation, which just makes you feel more empowered in the whole thing. So perhaps different and nothing against chiros, there's lots of good chiros around, just like physios as well. But whatever the clinician's approach, if the person becomes reliant on a passive treatment, you're reliant on that clinician for you to somehow become better. And perhaps even more so than that, maybe there's a fear around, if I don't go, then it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Whereas my whole thing is empowering the individual where, okay, if I have these series of stretches that I do, you know, kind of religiously, but just like brushing our teeth morning and night, we do that to look after our teeth. Do a couple of minutes of back stretches morning and night. It doesn't have to be a huge commitment, but chances are that will keep on top of it.
How good is the consistency? Like,
It's
I've
everything.
just added 15 to 20 minutes, not much, of stretching before bed every night. And I've been doing that a week. Fuck, the difference is...
Oh, man, it's
like,
crazy.
Like,
It's
ridiculous. But just with, even with my speed, like everything, feeling good in the morning. Something that makes me probably sleep better, I guess. Whatever, my sleep's been a lot better.
So, spot on. And then, again, let's say we're talking about, okay, how is the nervous system managing in our day-to-day lives? You go, okay, is it the stretching? Is it the specific stretches or exercises? Or is it that period of mindfulness and nervous system down regulation, relaxing before bed? Then you're probably going to have a better sleep, and the roll-on effect of that is everything.
Yeah.
So are you feeling more powerful because of 15 minutes of stretching, or because you feel more rested and recovered and you've had a good night's rest?
Well, what not concerns me, but like the same pain is there at the end of every day. Like I'll free it up. I'll feel good in the morning. By the end of the day, the same sort of pains and aches are there.
Yeah.
Like within the top of me lower back, on top of the hips, hip flexors.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I think back pain is fucking so common.
It's very interesting.
It's so
too.
common.
Yeah.
Is it, are we slouched? Is it our posture? Is it the way we live? Is it we're hunched over looking at phones? There must be a lot of contributing factors because it's fucking so common now.
Yeah. What I would say too is an imbalance in the forces acting on the tissues of the body. So basically, if you're standing all day, chances are you'll get a bit tight through the back and the hips. Or if you're sitting all day, chances are you'll get a bit tight through the back and the hips. So one is not necessarily better than the other. But what I would say is we need to balance out the forces acting on the body throughout the day. So rather than just relying on those stretches at the end of the day, you have little chunks of a couple of minutes here and there that help to balance out the forces acting on the body throughout the day. So if you're standing all day, then you want to be sitting on your smoko and at lunchtime and whatever else. If you're sitting all day, then you probably want to go for a walk and have a cruise around and stretch out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's handy.
It's totally key, man. It's totally key. So, it's all about balance. So as a movement teacher and running the yoga studio down there, the main essence of yoga is balance. So how do we achieve balance in life? How do we achieve balance with our body? So that's the yin-yang philosophy. All yin, and then we're these floppy things, all yang, which is the fire. We're going to explode, right? So we need to find balance. And then, you're getting a good physio consultation here, lads. But that's okay. People book in a couple of weeks ahead for this sort of thing, but that's fine. That's cool. So think cat-cow, if you know the movement, you're going from pushing away to then extending, right?
Yeah.
So the effect that's having on the discs is this balancing of the discs.
Yeah.
Because the discs are all about the pressure through there. Now, if we're sitting like this all day, that's good for 5-10 minutes, and the body loves it.
Yeah.
Because the body just wants to hang out and chill. There's nothing wrong with hanging out and chilling. So this idea of bad posture is garbage.
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
That's right.
Because I'm so mindful of how I'm sitting, and I go,
No, I want to see you chilling. Chill.
Yeah, right.
But what's important... So first of all, the first one to grab onto is the best posture is the one that feels good.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
That's
But
such a relief to hear.
But then we know yin yang. Too much of anything, even good things, is going to start to you're going to have an imbalance, right?
Yeah.
So then what I want to see is you're regularly moving, right? So then the other one to grab onto is the best posture is your next posture.
Right.
So we're all chilling at one moment, and then we're all sitting up the next moment, but this balancing out in the pressure within the discs, that's what keeps the nervous system nice and relaxed, nice and chilled. And because what happens, imagine the nervous system, a simplistic way to look at it, particularly, the autonomic nervous system, which is the automatic nervous system, right? Imagine this kind of control center like in the middle of your head or something like that, and it's constantly surveying your environment for potential threat.
Like Predator.
That's right. Exactly right. Yeah. So, and that's your external environment and your internal environment. Yeah. And if it detects any potential threat, it starts making changes in your chemistry and physiology to protect you. Its job is to keep you safe and protect you. So for some reason, if it starts to detect something, whether it's an imbalance in the pressure in the discs in the body, it doesn't like this, so it needs to send a message to your conscious brain so that you make a change. So that message might come in the form of tension and pain. All that's happening is we've been spending too much time in one particular position, pressure starts to build up, the nervous system detects this and goes, all right, I need to get this motherfucker to move. So it starts to create tension. You should feel that and go, okay, I just need to have a stretch and move, and then I feel way better like that, right? So then the nervous system goes, oh, cool, he got the message, and he chills out. So then something else I like is listen when the body whispers at you before it starts throwing bricks at you, right? So if you're picking up on the subtle messages, you're making subtle changes regularly, and if you have gentle little practices that you add into your routine.
What were you literally talking about before he walked in the door, Delby? Like
throwing
listening to your body. Literally listening.
Right.
And it's been a fucking key taking has been balance.
That's right.
Because when you neglect one part of your life, whether it's business, love, family, relationships, exercise, whatever it is, if you focus all your attention on improving one, you're probably neglecting one of the others.
That's right.
And it's about balancing it, rest, everything, having a good balance in that. But listening to your body is.
Well, we were trying to discuss whether are we actually listening to our body, or are we picking up on a greater consciousness, or is our body the consciousness that we're listening to?
Well, I'll give you an example. So, like I said to Delby, I'd picked up this breath work technique within a meditation.
Beautiful.
I told someone else who's into the meditation, the breath work, of this method that I'd picked up, and she said, "Yeah, that's a natural technique you use to relieve pain and stress." And I was like, "How did I get that?" Now, the spiritual part of me would go, "Well, we're connected to a higher source. It's a collective consciousness. It's my higher self. Whatever it ends up, whatever you want to call it. That's what that side of it." But then I said to Delby, "What if it's your body?" Just knows how to heal itself. It knows how to heal a cut. It knows how to grow hair.
It's a healing machine.
100%. It knows how to do it. So when you're quiet and in meditation and quiet with your body and listening to your body, is it just your body delivering it to you in a way that you can understand and say, this is exactly what you're meant to do, and that's how you do it? I don't know. Either way, I don't care. But I fucking come up with that by myself, and they're like, yeah, that's an actual...
Good. That's quite good.
So,
I mean, I agree. We know that the body is a healing machine, and particularly if we can keep to our roots as how has this body evolved? It hasn't evolved with running around trying to keep up with the Joneses and in the rat race and this relentless stress. So if we look at that nervous system being all charged up, if you're running around multitasking, super, hyperactive in the frontal lobes of the brain, the problem-solving part of the brain, you're not hearing those subtle messages. You've got too much other shit going on. So like you're saying, when we can quiet the mind, come back to actually listening to the body a little bit, then you'll pick up on those subtle messages. You'll be much more connected to your body. And that's a whole thing, I love to teach. My older brother, Stuart Watkins, is a beautiful yoga teacher, and he was miles ahead of the game, 15-something years ago, 20 years ago. And together we teach these workshops called Quiet Mind, Open Heart, which is all about getting out of our head, getting back to our body. And it's kind of in line with the choose love, not fear kind of thing. Come back to the heart, come back to your body, trust that. And as opposed to this hyperactivity in the frontal lobes of the brain, which is, again, where all the doubts, the fears, the insecurities are all coming from. So if we're up there, the nervous system's on high alert. We're in stress response, fight or flight. We're constantly running around like this. Now, in that state, the way these bodies evolved, because everything in these bodies has an evolutionary function, if you're in that state, it would make sense. Imagine a couple of 100,000 years ago, we were cruising around, and let's say you haven't eaten for 5 days and you're on high alert. It would make sense for yourself to be super sensitive and hyper aware. You can hear a pin drop over there because that might be the difference between survival or dying. You can smell that maybe that's what maybe that's going to keep me alive. Maybe that's some food. So basically our pain threshold comes right down and our sensitivity to pain comes right up. So when we have that prolonged, relentless periods of stress, that's also when the body is far more vulnerable to like a back spasm going on you.
Yeah, sounds like me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we're in this, short, and I'm not trying to say that stress is a big bad wolf, because stress also allows us to get a lot of shit done. I wouldn't have a physio degree without stress.
Yeah.
And
serves a purpose.
It serves a purpose, and it turns us into a superhuman for a short period of time. And if we have the ability to observe, okay, I'm pretty wound up, but I'm getting a lot of shit done. Let's just come back to the breath. Maybe it's observing how it's affecting my breathing, the tension in my muscles. Okay, I just need a moment, even a couple of minutes to calm everything down. And that will allow the tension to settle. It turns the dial down on the nervous system. Yeah. We feel more calm, we feel more present, and then we can kind of continue on with our day.
I had a question about the nervous system, because I've studied, I was phys ed and health teacher.
Yeah, cool.
Now, I can't quite conceptualize, right? I know we've got our nerves running from our spinal cord that branch off all over our body.
Yeah.
When I'm feeling really local pain in my back, am I feeling it in that part of my back, or is that my brain associating where the pain is and I actually feel the pain in my brain, or am I feeling the pain in my body? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it makes sense, and all these little one-liners that I love, but the issue is in the tissues, right? It's there. But because of your history, because of your physiology, what the message going to the brain might be much more heightened than the actual issue going on in there. So the other thing that we've learned through research is that pain does not necessarily equal dysfunction or anything to be concerned about. It's simply the message your brain is perceiving, and that is so intertwined with your context and your history and everything going on right now. Many of you might have not slept for a week, and that might be nothing to be concerned about, but you just need some rest and some movement and to chill everything out.
Yeah.
Then we go, then that's where it's worth having a good physio or whoever it is, because maybe there is that little bit of weakness on that side. Maybe that's the side that you had injured in the past. So there's a susceptibility on that side, but probably nothing to be concerned about. So the issue is there, but it's probably heightened by your belief system and where you're at with stress and just the tension in the muscles.
And whatever your body remembers the pain.
That's right.
Protects it.
Yeah.
So when I was every time I do mushrooms, my back like spasm and the pain is just so immense.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So anytime it's like electrical shocks right where my surgeons
mushrooms
were. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Every time. And it's like I can almost not get up.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's sending me a message, because the last time I had the message was, you are not your back. You are not your back pain.
Beautiful.
So I was like, all right, sick. Like,
That's
I was trying
really
to
cool.
focus on that.
Yeah.
And then the pain started to go away. So I was like, well, maybe that's what I had to get from it. But it was
that's a good message, man.
Yeah.
That's a good message.
Yeah.
Because you're not, and the thing is, basically with neuroplasticity, meaning the ever learning effect on the nervous system and the body, it's always evolving. And so if you understand that you are not your back pain and that's just the result of experiences and things that are going on at the moment, you can kind of let it go a little bit. And again, if you've got some stretches that help, then you can kind of work through it and work through it nice and calmly.
I guess it comes back to balance, doesn't it? Like understanding that, that is relevant because it's telling me there's some pain.
That's right.
there.
Let's not ignore it.
Yeah, but there's balance.
I've always tried when people go, how's your back? I don't want to identify as the guy with the fuck back. So I've been trying to be like, yeah, good. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
It's
positive
sore,
mindset.
but it's good. But yeah, I'm trying to get out of that space.
Well, that's good, man. There's nothing wrong with that. And I've seen you touch on stoicism, and for me, that's a big part of working through this sort of thing.
Yeah.
In Buddhism theory, it's a big one, because in people with chronic pain, what's been shown is that people can accept their issue, they can work through the issue, whereas a lot of people get caught up in this kind of victim mentality, and they resent it. They're like, why me and why my back? And they end up getting caught up in resisting it and pushing it away. And in that resistance comes tension, right? So with this acceptance, you can, and the more you understand knowledge is power, and you know that perhaps there's nothing to be too concerned about, and we're just trying to achieve balance, and we need to listen to it, but not get too caught up in it and fear it, then you can work through it.
My biggest change was exactly that. I used to be very frustrated, feel like a victim, felt like I couldn't do anything. And I saw a physio in Korean. I can't remember his name anymore, but
that's all right. We won't
he
need
kept
to name
up to this. He was keeping up with research. I found that a lot of people I'd seen before him would learn what they learn at uni, and then they go practice for 10 years and they still stick to what they know.
That's right.
So for him, he was like, recent research suggests, and he's like quoting all these peer-reviewed articles, that running is actually beneficial. They said not to run, but he's like, if you run, it's actually going to be, studies have said that it can improve your back. And I was like, okay. And then just that change of mindset where he goes, yeah, it's going to hurt, but the next time you run, it will hurt less and less and less. And I gave it a go, and it was bang on. And I got back to running, and I couldn't run 5 years ago, and then we did 25Ks when he did 53, longest I've ever run. So
that's sick, man.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty interesting. He probably read, an article similar with neck pain. So basically something around going for a 15 to 20 minute walk was as good for chronic neck pain as any neck exercise.
Wow.
And okay, how can we justify the effect of that? Chances are it's managing stress. You go outside, you have some mindfulness, some grounding, you're calming the nervous system, you're upright so you're not at the desk.
You're breathing as well.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep. It's just
movement is everything.
Motion is lotion. That's probably the big one.
Motion is lotion.
Take that, man, because that's just the way of life. It's these joints, they have this joint lubricant in it, and I guess the way I liken it to is a bit of Chinese theory, which is just flow. Yeah. Right. So imagine a flowing river. It's just like this fresh water flowing river. That's what it's you can almost drink that as opposed to a stagnant swamp. Yeah. Swamp, right? It's just if you leave water there, it's a little bacteria processing environment. Whereas that flowing water, that's what we want. So we're trying to keep that flow going in our body, whatever that is. That's what's going to help the tissues to feel nice and calm and relaxed.
The motion is lotion, and the mindfulness, it sounds like you're really big on that, settling, focusing. I've been listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza's book. It's a long one, but I don't think it's his first one. It's
Placebo
his next one.
or Superhuman one?
It might be Superhuman.
Yeah.
I'm about
becoming
13
superhuman.
hours in or something like that.
Joe Dispenza's a hell of a man.
Yeah, so like I
rebuilding his back.
I try and do what he does.
Yeah,
but I always evolve your brain is his.
Okay, cool. Yeah, nice. That's that neuroplasticity.
Yeah, I'm trying to like focus on thinking about my muscles working perfectly in my spine. But after like a minute and a half, I'm like, fuck, I've lost it.
Dude, that's hardcore. Yeah. Because you're trying to do something that's very difficult, which is focus your attention on something for a long period of time. And in this world we're living in, that's a fucking hard task.
So it's just about to bring that up.
We all have ADHD, It's our attention is being just stolen from us in every aspect of our lives. So you try and sit there for 5 minutes and stay focused. Yeah. So, him talking about, how he would focus on every single vertebrae. And if he didn't get through every single vertebrae healing it, he would start again. Right?
That's what I tried to do.
So look, but you're not in a hospital bed and you have other things to do. He was lying there healing and doctors told him he'd never walk again. Yeah. So motion is lotion, spend 5 minutes doing some gentle stretches, some cat-cows and some breathing, and you'll be feeling pretty bloody good, man.
It's such a vicious circle, though, because I try to focus on it, but then I think about him focusing on his back.
Yeah.
So
that'll just come with practice.
Like, he's doing it.
Plus, he was a chiro, man, so he knows the back.
In and out.
So it's a different thing. You're trying to imagine this thing that you don't really know inside out, back to front, up and down.
And that comes with, I think, same with meditation and focus.
That's right.
It all comes with practice. So at the start, I was fucking horrific at meditation. My mind would wander ridiculous amounts.
Of course.
And then again, when you resist it, it's making it worse. So my mind's wandered, come back, bring it back, start again. And use it to a point now, even this morning's meditation, my mind wandered away. Whoa, come back. It still happens, man. I've been doing it.
Of course, man. And same. And my advice with people there, because meditation, is a big barrier for a lot of people. Either they don't know what it is and it's intimidating, and sitting on a pillow and doing nothing is intimidating because, everyone putting their phone down for 5 minutes is a challenge. So they either don't know enough about it, it's an intimidating idea, or they've been told they need to do it for 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah.
Whereas in my mind, it's all about gradual exposure over time. So again, I heard you chatting to Corey Green about climbing the mountain. So it's like, if you want to, if you want to be able to sit there quiet in mind, connected with your body and breath, and you want to be able to do that for long periods of time, start with 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Start with freaking 2 minutes, and literally set the alarm on your phone and just put it over there. You know it's going to go off in 5 minutes, so you don't have to reach for it. You can just leave it there, and you can just enjoy that 5 minutes knowing, fuck, okay, this is what I'm doing for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Put it on do not disturb so it's not going to go off.
Yeah.
And you do your 5 and you're like, fuck, that feels good. I might do another 5, you know, and you gradually build up that time.
Because I looked back on what my routine is today, like recently. I've looked at it and gone, wow, I've got a pretty good routine.
Nice.
But then before that, I looked at it again, and before that, and went further back, and I've just added little bits into it slowly over time without thinking about it. Not thinking about it.
Yeah.
I think though, 6 years ago when I started implementing these little things, if I had thought it was going to take me 6 years to get to this point, I would have gone, what a nightmare.
6 years goes pretty quick,
Yeah, but when you look back on
36 years.
Yeah, I know, you're telling me.
Bro.
I looked back, something came up it was like a Facebook memory from a year ago, and you're like, fuck, that felt like
crazy.
2 days ago, but it's actually a year of effort to get to.
Russia invaded Ukraine 720 days ago.
It's fucking crazy. Yeah.
That's
so
insane, man.
those sorts of things, even though, you might say 12 months, fuck, that's a long time to get that to become regular. When you actually think back on 12 months, it's fucking like that.
So fast.
So it is just, it's one of those things, I think you just slowly but surely add little bits. I started out doing one sauna a month. I reckon.
can't fucking
I
sit
do.
in a sauna.
Yeah,
I do.
sauna's
That's
hard.
something I need to work on.
I do
rather the
4 a
ice
week
bath.
now.
Yeah, so
I do 4 a week.
Yeah.
I used to do one meditation a month for 5 minutes. I do nearly 2 a day for 10 to 15 minutes.
That's nice,
because
mate.
you're better than me, man.
It's just, and so I felt this guilt the other day. I was at the coffee shop and I was talking to my local barista, and he's like, what are you doing today? Going to a sauna, eh? Like a fucking tough life.
Yeah.
And I felt guilty. I was like, yeah, I am being a bit like, I should have gratitude for that one, but I felt guilty for that's what the life I've created.
What?
And then I thought, no. It's taken me 6 years to get to this point where I have the freedom to be able to go to a sauna, go do yoga, go meditate, go for a run, go to a podcast. I mean, at the moment, I'm sacrificing financially to do that as well.
Good on you, man.
But it's something I've worked fucking 6 years. I've gone through a fucking divorce.
Yeah, good on you
I've
too.
gone through a lot. I've gone through a lot to get to that point.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm just woken up one morning and going, I'm going for a sauna 4 times a week.
Yeah.
So
Good.
when I look back on it like that, I went, no, fuck, don't be guilty. You've worked hard to get to this point.
Well, spot on, man. And the body's a good investment. At the end of the day, this is the coolest machine you will ever work with, these bodies of ours.
I remember sitting back listening to Joe Rogan episodes when I was a sheet metal fabricator, or any one of these episodes I'd listen to, because I was just mindlessly welding and doing whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there thinking, fuck, I wish I had the time to do what these guys do when they're talking about. You hear I would hear a Rogan who's a full-time podcaster, comedian, has the time to go, I'm going to go for an ice bath today, and I'm going to...
Well, every morning.
Exactly.
And the whole thing.
And then he'd go and do his podcast, and I'd be like, fuck, man, and I've half created it, maybe not to the financial remuneration that he gets.
Early days.
But I would sit there and go, that seems like a really appealing way of living, concentrating on your health and well-being constantly.
It's the best investment for sure. And again, it's not until you lose something and you've both experienced it that, we spend all our time looking for this external something that's going to give us fulfillment. Yeah. And it's not until we lose something with our health and our wellness that you would give anything to have that back.
We spoke about it the other day, that subjective idea of like when you're sick
Yeah.
You just want to be.
Oh my God.
You
You
just
pay
want. You don't
whatever,
even
man.
want to
Easy.
feel great. You just want to be normal.
You
again.
give
Like-
everything. You give everything away. You know, if you had that, if you had something that was just, you know, creating a disability for you, you would pay anything.
100%.
Yeah, that's right. So
How
we just
have
need
you manufactured your time now? Do you choose your own hours and have
Yeah.
you created the way you want to live?
I'm loving it, man. I can see longevity at the moment. I basically work 7 till 1 at the clinic,
Yep.
and I love it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this, and,
Yeah.
and I might do a massage and do some exercises with people, but it's chilled. It's
Yeah.
like this kind of tempo.
Yeah.
So it feels good. It's fulfilling to me, and I feel like I'm helping people. So there's job satisfaction.
Yeah.
And then technically I've got the afternoon to do those things. So
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So if I'm going well, I'll get a bit of meditation and movement in before work, and then I've got the afternoon to train.
How do you go with the stereotypes with guys and being in your mind and your heart space and yoga?
I love it.
'Cause,
I love it. I love challenging it.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, and again, my big bro was a good mentor, I think, for not giving a fuck what people think.
Yeah.
And for if he's got a message that's going to help people, he's going to put it out there, and he's going to do that unashamedly and for the greater good kind of thing. And I probably, was caught up in a bit more stigma in terms of being at footy clubs
Yeah.
and being a bit more in the mainstream world that way.
Where'd you used to play?
Wembley
Yeah.
for a good chunk, and then Kilbinia Amos for a
Hey.
chunk too. Yeah,
Just to let out that violence.
yeah, exactly right. Love it. And
Do you have to wear linen? Is it a requirement?
in the yoga world?
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know if we got Lulu on here, the
Yeah.
Lululemon shout out.
Yeah.
So a big thing of what I teach are these spinal waves, which
Yeah.
is getting your spine to move like a snake, because if you can learn to control every single vertebrae and do that with this fluidity and this softness, and then you can create a body in which tension just won't even exist. So I started challenging the stigma a little bit, on a Saturday morning before I'm about to play a game of footy, I'll put up a story of me doing these like spinal waves, and just like couldn't have been a more feminine thing to be doing. But because I just owned it, plus, I was sort of...
The lads get around it.
Well, I was big and ugly and strong enough that people, they would try and like go like, nice spinal waves this morning, man, or like, sort of gay or
Yeah.
And it's like, how's your back feel, man? Mine feels fucking good.
Yeah.
Do you have a mantra? I'm a snake. I'm a slippery little snake.
I find that a lot more of the lads at footy clubs now.
Get a wave and feel that. Feel the flow.
Well, my experience of late and going into amateurs where you'd expect it to be a bit more like, no, fuck that, you fucking gay. Like you expect that.
Everyone's coming around.
It's
Fucking-
changing. It's changing.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, Joe Rogan.
honestly, I believe it's the great hope in society and civilization at the moment is this change that's happening.
Yeah.
People moving towards looking out for ourselves, looking out for each other, not just criticizing the fuck out of each other. There's still that toxic, whatever you want to call it. It's still there, but people are more open-minded. And I've just found that with myself is that people, if they're thinking, oh, maybe he's onto something, they've been a bit more accepting and I think it was the biggest one when I was out. So let's say that the guys hadn't fully grabbed onto it at the footy club yet, and we went out to see Paradiso at one of the end of season drinks or whatever, and we were all dancing down at the outdoor little area there, and these two girls came up to me and they like looked at me and they were like, are you the Spinal Flow guy? And all the boys were just like, get fucked. And I was like, oh my, you couldn't write it. It was so funny, man.
I think a lot more people are, and not just at footy clubs, a lot more people are like-minded than we think, I think.
That's right.
Because, I mean, you've even seen it, I went out on Friday night and watched Delby show, and I was floating around and I met about 3 or 4 listeners, and they all would fit the stereotypes of, macho sort of blokes. And they went, yeah, I've got the same, I'm on the same wavelength as you. And we're pretty spiritual in that way. We're pretty like empathy, compassion. We preach that sort of stuff like that. And you don't hear guys talk about that too much, in their groups, but when they come up to you and have a quiet little word
That's right.
on the side, and you're like, yeah, I'm seeing it a lot more. And then I'm seeing it at barbecues. Some of my mates, they'll come up. Yeah, I
They just
think the same as you.
quietly
You know,
over
like,
there. They just want to have a little chat.
and we're lucky because we're saying it on a podcast, and then they potentially see a clip, or they hear it or listen or whatever. But I might have 20 mates who think exactly the same. They don't have this platform.
That's
but
right.
they think the same,
Yeah.
and they're just not saying it. So.
Yeah, and the men's work space is huge at the moment, you know, and I've got a bit of involvement in that, and you know, run the occasional men's circle over at the yoga studio, in which you open it up in this circle, and it's obviously just the men, and you pass the talking stick around, give someone that space to, you know, talk about a win and something that they're struggling with, and you just watch them just pop off, or you know, and open up and feel comfortable to kind of share what they're going through.
What is it the stigma maybe? Because I have the same, and I think you'd have the same sort of not cringe, but like a feeling of like, oh, guys, just
the men's work?
Yeah, like almost like a stereotype, not a stereotype. It's almost like, oh, they're getting in a circle and they're.
It's like weakness. And femininity.
No, because I think it's
vulnerability.
I think it's a great thing, but there's just something.
There's a bit of cringe there for you.
There's a bit. I don't know what that is. I'd love to do it. So it's not like
if you can look at it, is it your conditioning? Like
potentially,
is it just simply that you're conditioned to not want to sit in a circle and be completely open and honest and vulnerable? Because as men, it's like me against you, and we're in this kind of battle. It's this competitive thing.
And I don't know what it is, because I am very open to that.
Yeah,
it's better to do it around men, because women say they want an emotional guy, but they really want a strong provider.
They do, exactly.
And then if you open up to them, they're like, "Fuck, man, you're a little beta male."
I think,
and it's fucked because they say that's what they want, but they don't.
I think I
they
know.
don't really want it.
I think I've just realised what it is.
I'm more than happy to talk to my mum, but not my partner.
But in a
weak way.
In a private group.
It needs to be.
So what have you figured out there?
It's when I see it on
video.
Film.
Yeah, I can't. It triggers me.
And I understand people need to film it to promote it, to say this is what's. So it's one of those half of a.
I feel like it should be kept private. Look, you don't have to share it.
That's my ethos with it, and there's a few of us, you know, who are kind of leading their own little, you know, groups out there, or however you want to say it, and that's our consensus with breath work, because breath work can go deep, and you can go full trauma release breath work, and that's like a glorious release. It's intense, man, watching someone like, you know, have this big fucking release. And the general consensus is, let's not glorify that. That's behind the scenes. So if there's any photos, it's the gentle one beforehand where it's all chill, or it's the gentle one afterwards where people are chatting. But you know, for me,
photos isn't as bad, I think.
Well, but still, you know, because everyone's trying to make it. Everyone's trying to make something of themselves, right? So they're glorifying this huge trauma release, but then you're also showing the person in their absolute vulnerability, and then. And using that for marketing or something, that's a little bit brutal, and that would be fine to be cringeworthy towards that.
So for me, it's almost like, as long as it's not, and I understand people need to make profit sometimes if they're hiring a space potentially, but I feel like that is...
It gets a bit murky, doesn't it?
It's weird, because you are doing a service and you're helping somebody, just like a physio. Why would you charge to work on the body, but you're not going to charge to work on the mind and spirit?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, man.
It's just as valuable.
Or more.
I don't like when somebody is a self-proclaimed shaman and then they're charging like through the nose. It's like,
and you're the whitest dude you've ever seen.
Or that full trick. I don't know why. It's just like,
look, it's totally fine, you know. And there's probably some cultural appropriation going on there. To be honest, like,
well, in my head, I'd be like, oh, okay, let's get together 5 or 6 of my real close mates and let's go do it ourselves. But then I don't know anything. I don't know how to run it or what we should be doing. So I guess there is a service for people who go, right, this is the best way to, these are some methods that I've
What
I've
is
learned.
the trauma breath work? What's that all about? That's interesting to me. Is that because we store emotions in our body or our breath? Or
Breath really
it's so funny that
me.
Come do breath work. It's like, I've been breathing for my whole life.
Yeah, the breath work's a funny one. You know, the breath work comes with this mystical kind of, if you're not into it, if you're new to it, it does come with some connotations around it. So there's different forms of breath work, and at the yoga studio we run breath work every day, and though that kind of breath work session will be more methodical and probably more therapeutic and chill, and you're just running breathing exercises and you know really calming the nervous system, and that's a beautiful practice, and I would recommend everyone try that. But then there's so many different styles of breath work, and the trauma release breath work, or there's different names, holotropic breath work, or conscious connected breath work, or we could.
Holotropic comes up a lot. What can you explain? I'm just beginning to get into the idea of breath work and being able to use breath to heal.
Yeah,
so
look, I can safely say that it's been perhaps the most powerful modality that's created a big shift for me to let go of some old stuff, you know, and I've always explored, you know, and with psychedelics and obviously yoga and meditation. But this was, to me, the most effective.
For what I've noticed, very instant.
Within that session, it can really crack you open. It's always set and setting, like with psychedelics as well. So it's got to be the right people, the right place, the right environment. But it's a style of breath work. My analogy is that when you start breathing in this way, and there's a particular technique to it, it's like your foot is on it's like you're in a vehicle and your foot is on the gas pedal and you're diving into your subconscious. And what happens, because it's the breath as opposed to like a psychedelic experience where once you go, you're kind of at the mercy of the mushroom or whatever it might be. Whereas the beauty of this breath work is your foot's on the gas pedal, you're in control, right? So you start to breathe in this certain way, and it basically changes the physiology of what's going on with your pH, so the oxygen carbon dioxide sort of difference, and by that change, it really within a few minutes starts to alter your consciousness. And I don't know if you've seen the T-Rex arms, but they come up in the glory photos a few times of the trauma release, because it starts to give you what's called tetany potentially, where you move into this flexor pattern
because of lack of oxygen or lack of carbon dioxide.
You're blowing off the carbon dioxide. And so just the change in the pH creates this tetany, and it comes with this like tension, and you're going into your subconscious, and we see this going out of the thinking brain, and you might start to bump into a memory or something, or just a feeling, and then emotions might start coming, and you've got no control, but you start like feeling emotion. And then really it's up to you whether you want to dive into it and actually see what's going on there, or if you go, now's not the time, I'm not feeling safe in this environment, I'm just going to pull back and just chill out a little bit.
You just stop breathing.
You just relax.
Then
the tetany chills, and we just chill. But so you don't necessarily work through that thing. But for me, at this particular retreat, at this particular point in time, like they got us to write some words down on a card, an intention for the session, and mine was, I'm ready. So when I bumped into that, I was like, let's fucking go. And you're on the breath, so you just breathe harder, and you literally just move through it. And there was a lot of old guilt stuff. Old guilt I was holding on to without even realizing, or maybe pain from when I was younger, because let's put it this way, as a man, sometimes we don't allow ourselves to feel the full pain of a situation because we're not as connected with our emotion or whatever, or the nervous system is so sophisticated at protecting you that maybe something is so painful that to feel the full wrath of that pain at the time is just incomprehensible. And I could say for 10 years of physioing, I barely had a sick day, right? Even though I had 4 different serious breakups and all this different shit that was going on, I never missed a day's work. And I think I'm all right. And in my mind, I must just be resilient. But meanwhile, I'm just not feeling the full feelings of the situation, because perhaps it would have just hurt too much. And so with the breath work, because it takes you out of your head, and you're kind of going into that subconscious, you're working into it, and then with the breath, it just allows you to feel the emotion. So maybe it was just having this huge cry that I haven't had for 10 fucking years because I've just been going about my business and been too busy to even feel anything. And you have this huge cry, and it's like, oh my God, how high I felt coming out of that was like the best pill I ever
like
had.
catharsis.
Huge, man. I got up, like I was lying down having this huge experience, this huge cry, and I sat up, everyone was still breathing, and I smiled from ear to ear, tears and snot all over my face, and I legitimately felt like it's done. All this searching and looking and psychic. I was like, at that moment, I could have sworn I'd just solved all the problems of the universe.
It was within the whole time.
It's always within.
Oh, it is. I think I've seen some people with T-Rex hands, but that's at festivals. That's self-induced.
And
on the
and
floor.
little
Yeah.
finger, that's a different one.
There is,
Yeah.
there's certainly room for balance between that, masculine strength to get through your pains and your traumas and deal with it. But there's also, we go back to balance.
The balance is the key.
Being able to acknowledge it and move through it and not just go, nah, I'm ignoring it. Fucking, this is what it is.
Having a good cry is great.
Well,
it's a beautiful thing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite masculine to face your traumas and your demons
That's right. It's
head on and
courageous, yeah.
acknowledge them and then move through them and
That's
use
right.
them to build your strength and character. I believe.
All part of the hero's journey. If you've kind of looked into the hero's journey much, it's
No, what's the hero's journey?
Oh, the hero's journey. It's oh God, I'll have to come back to you with who wrote it back in the day now. But basically, the hero's journey is the blueprint for like every awesome movie you've ever seen, right? Which is it starts with feeling the call, like you hear the call. So okay, there's something needs to change. You've obviously you've experienced that. And then you either answer the call or you don't answer the call. Like maybe there's this feeling of adventure. You need to go out there and do it. Or you just stay in your bubble.
Like Truman Show.
Yeah, that's right. Or the Matrix, you stay in the Matrix and do your little thing. If you answer the call, then you go off on this adventure. And on this adventure, you kind of meet, guides and people who help to impart this wisdom on you, and you learn all these things, and you have this huge adventure, and you gather your tools along the way, and then you eventually come up against like the nemesis, and the Lion King is like an awesome example of, and Star Wars, it's all based on the hero's journey. Like Darth Vader is the ultimate.
And Mufasa.
And that's exactly
every time.
Yeah.
Same actor.
Every time. Yeah, no shit. But the whole journey got you to this point, and the thing is, what seems to be the case is that villain is, we create that ourselves, and so going within to
So
conquer.
like Simba blames himself. He
That's
trains
right.
with Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah,
comes
that's right.
back.
Yeah.
Finishes that. Yeah.
I think the big one as well is once you've defeated that nemesis, you think that's it. Bang, you're ready. That everything's going to be good.
Yeah.
I've recently defeated my nemesis.
Yeah.
That I had a big moment a couple of days ago. I don't think I've even spoke about this on the
Oh,
podcast yet, but
nice.
I had this perfect moment where everything came back to me and I forgave myself.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
And you think, sweet, now it's all good. Fuck yeah. Where's my money? Where's my fucking future wife? Where's that all coming in? No, like it happened, like it was a long process. It was a journey to get to that point. Now it's like, hey, you're starting again. Start the journey.
Dude,
it's baby steps slowly.
It's really nice, because I had the same thing. Blazing Swan? Or the Burning Man whole philosophy.
Yeah.
2 Blazing Swans ago, I went there and had all this, I was on a whole journey. I just hurt a girl and I felt fucking so guilty for it. I've hurt another girl and I was just...
Emotionally.
Emotionally. Thank you, bro. Absolutely. Emotionally.
Yeah.
And I wasn't proud of myself. And I was feeling so fucking guilty. And... and I was on this journey, and at Blazing Swan, obviously there's psychedelics, and it's a nice exploration, and the whole process of the burn is exploring what you're going to burn up and let go of what's not serving you anymore. And they've got the temple there, and you're encouraged to go into the temple, which is made of wood, and you have a little meditation and feel what you're, hoping to let go of, and maybe you write it on the wood, or you see photos all in there, and it's a pretty emotional experience going in there. And I was kind of just sitting with it and not knowing what I was going to write. And I just, I started writing and I just wrote, I forgive you. And I was talking to myself and I just broke down and I was like, holy shit, man, I've been getting in the way of my happiness. It's all been my own restraints on that and allowing myself to kind of let that go was fucking so powerful, man. And you know, at the end of the day, we're just learning along the way. I took the lessons from those parts of my life, and then I've been able to forgive myself and let that go.
Oh yeah.
And
it's funny though, because it always seems to be you're your own worst enemy or your own biggest supporter, and until the penny drops for some people, it'll never get past that. It'll
That's
be
right.
blaming external circumstances, blaming somebody else. But the minute you look inwards, it's always like, oh fuck.
And that was
This is-
the realization I had was, you know, in the mushroom experience, I sort of briefly touched on it with Emo the other day. I forgave everyone. I went through and I called up I claimed responsibility. I'd done that. I called up like my ex-wife. I forgave my parents. I'd done that, and we talked about that on the pod. But I never forgave myself. I was the last one, and I just went, what the fuck? And I had to go back and I had to visualize it and had to go forgive myself and say, not forgive, just say it's okay. And then the best moment was a few days later when in a meditation, I had this visualization of myself here in the room out there, planning some stuff with Delby and a couple of people I couldn't quite recognise. And I turned around and I looked at my current self, and
nice.
like the person I was right then and there in that moment, and I told myself there, you're going to be okay. And it was like this fucking, you're constantly looking back on that person who's evolving and improving and getting better, and you're going to be okay.
Awesome, man. On that, at the next Blazing Swan, which was last year, I went back and this was after another 18 months of like continuing to like delve in and like you said, you know, maybe the work doesn't stop. We keep doing the work on ourselves. You know, you've had this huge breakthrough, but things will come up and you need to keep doing the work. So I was interested.
Continuously.
That's right. I was interested to see what the next Blazing Swan, what I would find. And I really like went down the rabbit hole of big, 7 nights. I pushed it every single night.
Yeah.
But one night, I think it was about halfway through, I went to the toilet, and obviously slightly mind-altered state, and I've just caught my reflection in the mirror. I was dressed like a lion or something.
Simba.
Yeah, that's right. But and I've just caught my reflection, and I just looked at myself in the mirror, and it was like I was talking to myself, and it was so like, oh my God. And I was just like, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I love you. Like, keep doing what you're doing. You're a good man. And to actually be able to say that to myself, oh my God, it was so powerful. And that was a pretty special moment.
It's like when you look at yourself in those sorts of altered states in a mirror, it is like watching from the outside. It is like that.
It's so interesting.
It is like the out-of-body experience, which you get to look at the person and go, this is how I'd look at Delby from the outside.
That's
and this
right.
is the things I'd say to Delby.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I say that to myself?
And that's a very valid point. You know, if someone's having a hard time, it's like, you know, you're so hard on yourself. What would you say to someone who was running those same things, or like write a letter to yourself, or you know, like be gentle, be compassionate, empathetic to yourself. You know?
I've always found I'm the problem. All my exes tell me that. So.
You are
for sure.
I know I'm the problem.
That was always the message. That was the key takeaway.
That I was the problem.
No,
Thanks,
you're
bro.
the problem. That was the key
been talking to
takeaway from my mushroom experience was that get out of your own way.
Well, one of the better things I think anybody could do as a strategy or a technique on your own. When I was with Boris Walters doing the past life regression, there was just a moment where he brought me back to, and when I was a young kid, there was like an event that happened with my mum and my grandma. But he goes, "Oh, you're the man now. Tell that kid that like you've got his back, and everything's all right." And that was really powerful.
Yeah.
I started sort of having a little cry because I saw myself as a man now, and as a kid, and I was like, he was like, "Just give yourself a hug," and I was like, "Oh, sick."
That's exactly what I did in that going back. Like gave myself like as a kid a hug, and in certain periods of my life.
Because you're not that kid anymore. You're a fully grown man, and you can protect that kid. So even if you are listening, think of like if there's something that's fucked up that happened when you were younger, the person you are now, you can always get yourself, settle your body, just visualize yourself as a kid, give yourself a hug, and it helps.
Look at Delby getting all spiritual and
inner child work.
You said you felt a bit differently over in Bali and stuff like that. That's the sort of realizations you had, I guess?
No, in Bali it was a bit different because I when I go to Bali, I do it because I lose that invisible weight that I was always pressing down. Like I've got,
I need to be doing this. and that.
I've got 5 different shows. I've planning this,
And
that,
it's so
that.
healing over there, right?
Yeah,
You just
don't have to be anywhere.
Oh my God.
Don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
No one to speak to unless I choose to.
Yeah.
But I listened to Theo Von with Tony Robbins, and I just started doing what his morning ritual was. Instead of grabbing my phone,
Theo
I would
or
put
Tony Robbins? Yep.
put the timer on. I do 3 minutes, what I'm grateful for, but not just go, oh, I'm grateful for my mum. I think about the moments in time, so my body would relive that, so my brain would
beautiful.
relive
Oh, that's
that.
great.
Sitting around
That's
at
a good
Christmas,
one.
having a laugh, putting yourself there, like Dr. Joe Dispenza's, like you be in that state, not thinking about it, be there.
Yeah.
So like, I'll be thankful for you, thinking about doing the pod, being on stage, and then 3-minute body scan, just see what's going on in my body. And then a 3-minute, what I'm going to manifest and hope to do. So
I needed you to say that today.
Yeah. So I keep seeing the
remember I said
sold-out
before the
Astor Theatre.
episode, like those are the things that I had to start focusing on.
Yeah.
I needed to hear you say that.
Yeah.
That's given me some.
Well, made me a lot happier. People kept saying, you seem so happy. And I was like, I don't know, I just feel more connected to myself, But I was like laughing more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was laughing. I was fingering my bum.
Self-love.
No,
it's
but
important.
yeah.
But it was like people were saying you seem happier. And I was like, well, fuck, I don't know. I'm more grateful. I'm more like.
And that's a powerful thing, man. Yeah, absolutely.
So-
And having that gratitude practice, it actually shifts the mindset towards
Positivity,
things.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
there's a-
There are people listening, they'll be like, my life sucks, I've got nothing to be grateful for. Fuck up, cunt.
You're alive. You're
alive
alive for a start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's a really powerful message then. I won't mention names, but out of every plane, every seat that anyone could have sat next to me, one of my childhood friends sat down next to me on the flight home.
way.
But he came off his motorbike and got really bad brain damage, lost all of his his arms a bit stiff. He's couldn't really walk, and that was 10 years ago, and he's got back to a point now where he can walk with a cane, but he still hasn't got full movement. And just sitting next to him, he goes, "Man," I go, "How's it all going? Is it frustrating because he's got slurred speech?" But he said, "I can understand everything. I'm still the exact same person. It's just that my mouth doesn't do what I want my brain to do." So you can still understand pretty well. But he said, I wake up and I just thank God I'm alive. He's like, I'm just fucking
It's
so
huge,
happy
man.
to be alive.
It's huge.
I was like, fuck, that's from what he used to be. He goes, it had to happen to me. I had to have that accident. I fucking am so grateful that I'm alive. Life's good. I love living. The fact that I get to wake up, I was like, fuck,
Yeah.
man.
Fuck,
Yeah.
man. That's,
And Ram Das?
Yeah.
So he's a lot of it is fierce
Yeah.
grace, is what he refers to it as. Is that you have whatever experience that you need to have to get to that point, and sometimes it's fucking horrible. And that fierce grace, he had a stroke.
Yeah.
He was. You would have thought he was already there, but he had that stroke and he lost all his, the majority of his function and a big chunk of his speech. But that's what got him to that final phase of enlightenment where he was just, oh my God, just outrageously joyful in every moment just to be alive. So that fierce grace is a
that context is huge.
Yeah. You can always
100%.
find something you're grateful for, even if you're a fucking miserable cunt, man.
But again, and that's Stoicism 101, and I was working with, and I still am working with one of my best mates, and a period of time in which, chronic pain affecting his arms, and as a surfer, just wants to be out surfing all the time, and he couldn't do it because he can't push off, and you can focus on all the negatives and how shit that is and how rough life is, and that's the victimhood and resisting the current situation rather than accepting it and whatever else. And I just said, look, can you bodyboard?
Oh, so I was just
Yeah,
thinking,
you can hold the board right, and you can get out in the salt water and get some sunshine and have a paddle around, get some exercise, and then that gets the cogs turning. And how good you feel just from going in a fucking swim in the ocean and doing that every single day, starting your day with that and being grateful for just that.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the wheels started turning, and sure enough, he's fucking chopping out there surfing now and doing.
So he's back up surfing.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
Yeah.
What are some other of your success stories? I love hearing where people have gone from
Oh,
A
dude,
to point B.
man,
or point Z.
yeah, dude, some crazy ones. Hey, and an example, this this middle-aged lady that came in, and she came in with like what had been diagnosed medically as carpal tunnel syndrome. So the nerve pain all the way down, numbness in the hands.
Could have been doing breathing exercises.
Yeah, maybe too much.
Too
No,
much,
she
yeah.
certainly wasn't.
Yeah.
She certainly wasn't.
Is carpal tunnel a real thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. So and she was about like a couple of weeks away from going into surgery to release that tissue and free up the nerve and all this sort of thing. And she comes in and she's sitting on the edge of the chair, sure enough, sitting up like this in good posture, but wound up to the fucking, you could just feel it, right? And I'm just kind of looking at the body language and listening to the story. And yes, I'm going, probably going for surgery and this, that, and the other. And I was like, how do you feel right now? And she's like, terrible. Like, I've got tension here and this, that. And I was like, what if you just like relax in the chair? Like, I was like, can you observe how much you're on the edge of your seat and maybe you're creating a lot of tension? And sure enough, she's like, okay. And so she relaxes. I'm like, how does that feel? She's like, well, it feels better. And I was like, well, why don't we sit like that
We'll
for a
try
little
that,
bit? She's
yeah.
like, okay, all right. So that, got her attention. And then it was looking at what was happening with breathing. So when we're stressed, we breathe into our upper chest, short, shallow, these little breaths into the upper chest, right? And sure enough, breathing in that way sends a message to the nervous system that there must be something to be stressed about. So we switch into this fight or flight response where upper chest breathing, meaning you're using all these muscles to expand the chest. And sure enough, those muscles are going to get really fucking tight, and they get tighter and tighter over time, sensitize the whole thing. And I literally just spent half an hour chatting to her about stress, and I just said, let's just do some gentle breathing, some nasal belly breathing, so you relax your shoulders, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, and just gently like that, and just keep that going. And you can feel in real time the nervous system dialing down. Nasal belly breathing and prolonging the exhalation as opposed to the short, sharp inhalation. Let's focus on the exhalation and out through. And let's just keep doing that and keep doing that. And in the end, I said, look, let's just do that for a week, and we'll catch up in a week and go from there. Because in my mind, that's the most important bit. She came back in a week and goes, Cam, that breathing. She was she's like, it's gone. It was literally gone, man.
Yeah.
She was carrying herself in a way that was creating all this tension, winding her up, sensitizing her nerves, amping her nervous system up. Plus, she was stressed to the shit. We ended up going on this whole journey. She ended up leaving the husband, getting into exercise, and then 6 months later, she's climbing fucking mountains with this new group that she met that are fucking going hiking every week. And she lost fucking 40 kilos in the process, So it was like...
How can it be something so simple?
Yeah, like breaking up
breathing
with a marriage. Yeah. It works for you. It's worked for her. I think marriage is the problem, guys. We've solved it.
But how can it be that something so simple as breathing correctly or in certain patterns and methods? How can that be unknown?
It's not unknown. It's just it's
paying conscious attention to your unconscious.
That's right. And it's just people get so caught up in all the head stuff that they're completely disconnected from the body.
Do you think it's a lifestyle thing? Like the world we live in now, there's so many things to stress about, like bills and relationships and, am I going to be able to find time to exercise or whatever? There's a lot of things to try and balance.
So Ricky Gervais says it well, and he says the problem with being a human is we're really just monkeys with a brain the size of the world, and that's what it is. It's in these frontal lobes, the prefrontal cortex, where the doubts, the fears, the insecurities are just constantly arising, and that's where the grass is always greener, and that's where I'm not quite good enough, and that's where, so it's learning to go, okay, when is this pattern of thinking serving me and of use? Is this problem worth solving right now? Is that going to be of service to me? Or am I just fucking ruminating on something that is not helping me whatsoever? So if you can identify that this thought process is not really helping you right now and we're just running around in circles, then compartmentalization, you can just shut the door on it and just come back to the breath, back to the body, and then have a good night's sleep.
So what can...
Let go or be dragged.
That's great point, Delby. But I think, I won't pretend. I'm lucky enough to have the time to be able to go every half an hour, 2 hours, and go, right, I'm presented with this issue. Let's think about it. Let's quiet myself and do it.
Yeah.
Like most people don't have that luxury. They've got to get this email out. Like, what's the best way they can? I don't know. What's the best way that in a busy life that people can start to address that?
Well, the idea and I probably following from my brother really took the nuggets of wisdom from yoga, which is like yoga off the mat. Let's say the main purpose of yoga is to be present and calm and connecting your attention with the movement and with the breath, right? And in that beautiful, calm setting, you can achieve all sorts of beautiful states of mind in that state. But then you go out into the big wide world and you have a difficult conversation with someone and you're about to explode as a ball of tension. That's right. So it's like keeping yourself present, keeping yourself calm throughout the day, right? That's the key. And it's little things like...
And how?
Well, by observing when something takes you out of peace, if it's a state of mind or if it's your breathing, and just observing the whole process. Okay, something's got me breathing short and sharp. What is it? Okay, it's that thought process and it's creating emotion, and it's just catching it then and there, and in real time maybe going and go, okay, let's just get back into the present moment again and again and again. And a good little bit of advice I say to people is when you're driving, what are you doing? Are you like fucking banging around here and which is pretty common. Yeah. Or are you in the present moment, in flow, which is you're just paying attention to everything going around you, your hands are on the steering wheel, and you're connected to your breath, and it's a calm nasal belly breath, and you've given yourself, however long that drive was, 5 or 10 or 20 minutes of an evidence-based intervention that is calming for your nervous system. You've kept your nervous system in a parasympathetic state, and then you'll arrive at that destination calm. Your nervous system is calm, and then you'll be able to just flow at that destination as opposed to being this reactive ball of tension.
So like 10 years ago, that's where my journey into this stuff began. I read The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, and The Power of Watching Your Thoughts. Yeah. For me at the start, and for maybe a lot of people listening, where like it's such a foreign idea, and I could not understand it.
It's a big one.
Is that because his name's Eckhart Tolle?
Eckhart Tolle. But watching your own thoughts is basically exactly what you were just explaining, was just understanding why you're thinking something.
It's a tricky one to get your head around to start with, interestingly.
What's a new skill, right?
Yeah, so for me, it took years to be even, and I'm still trying to get better at it. I find myself going, you've just reacted a certain way, and I'll catch myself maybe minutes later sometimes. Yeah. What is the best way to dip your toes into it and start to do it? Is it baby steps and just slowly noticing bits? Maybe reflection on the day instead?
It's just a constant... It's a constant process. So I read that book when I was in Europe. So I remember just sitting on a train, I had time. Yeah. I had time to think about it, and that was such a luxury because, I felt like I made a big leap in my kind of consciousness at that time because I had time to read it and just think about, I'm not my thoughts.
Yes.
The thoughts are simply the function of this fucking brain that is designed to solve problems. So inherently, it's constantly searching for problems to solve. Yeah. So hence, most of my thoughts will probably be negative. So it's understanding that I am not that. My mind is simply learning from my experiences. And again, that's where through conditioning and experiences over time, we have this fucking intense pattern of thinking that might not be helping us all the time. We're not designed to just be like, fuck, life is good. We're not designed to do that.
Otherwise we die.
I guess it's exactly like, I guess it's like, it's turning it into a habit, building it into a habit of doing it. And that begins slowly, baby steps.
We're very lucky that we have the podcast because this is one of the most times that you have to be present. And instead of thinking, what's my next question?
Yeah, just talk.
It needs to be, I'll listen to what you're saying now.
That's right.
And if something pops up, I'll go, I'll wait, be present. And then, okay, cool, respond to that.
That's right.
And then if you don't ask that question, whatever. You just move on to the next one.
So one thing I've found that's helped with that stuff and turning it into a habit instead of like catching myself, being my what would you call it?
Your authentic self?
Yeah, well, the best thing, I've gone back to like a stoic principle of journaling.
Okay.
And by the journaling's good. Okay, so the journaling's good. I had the realizations of things and mistakes I've made that day, potentially things I've done really well. But going back every day, not just writing in there, but reading back what I've written to reinforce the new patterns and the habits that I want to live by, which is probably, it coincides with the mushroom trip as well, where I'd reset, if you go down the science point of view, what was it, the default mode network? You reset the pattern grid, and you can start your own patterns by writing these down every day, the way I want to live and the way I want to react to certain situations, and then reading them again every day before I write my next one. It's like it's reinforcing it in my brain to become hopefully a healthy habit.
What if you're not writing down the right thing and you're reinforcing it the wrong way?
Well, I guess, potentially, but it's the...
at least you're doing something to observe your thoughts.
Yeah, I should definitely bring... I don't know about broadcasting what I've been writing down, because it's quite...
no need to do that.
No, but some of the realizations of my own flaws and weaknesses and then trying to address them have been pretty... It's by seeing the flaw there, you can then, next time it comes up within a conversation, I can then go, hey, the last time I reacted this way and it was a poor result, potentially next time I should rethink it. And if I don't reread what I've written, I don't remember it. Like sometimes you go, I remember, I shouldn't have done that. But if you're constantly reinforcing it with consistency, I find that seems to help.
Yeah, I mean... I dare say that what's right and what's wrong. I mean, that's subjective anyway, right? Yeah. So I think you whether or not that is as necessary to be constantly, so damn hard on yourself as to in terms of what's right and what's wrong. Have you heard of internal family systems?
No.
It's a framework for basically introspection and looking at yourself. And there's a book from this guy called Richard Schwartz who came up with the whole thing. It's called No Bad Parts. And it's basically learning to look at yourself and like quieten the mind and look within yourself and feel the different parts. So you mentioned that inner child that however old he was, that maybe he was hanging on to some stuff, right? So we have these little parts that were created at different points in our life, based on circumstances at the time. And so we have these little parts, and they come with an age because it happened at a particular time. And then we have these other parts which are protectors. So we have these parts that happen based on the circumstance. And then we create this protector, and Dick Schwartz calls them firefighters. So the protector is created as this like fiery response to protect the part. So if someone challenges your part, they might trigger you, and then you have this big fucking triggered response, and you're like, where the fuck that come from? That's just another part of you that is protecting the little part, right? And then we have these other parts which are called managers, and that's the inner voice that's telling you to fucking be better and do more. And those motherfucking managers can be pretty fucking unrelenting, right?
Inner Karens.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And so you learn to actually feel these different parts. Like, I've got this manager that tells me to fucking just keep doing more and building more and be better and be fucking perfect. And it's fucking pretty unrelenting. So
I call that my ex, but that's good.
Yeah. So, rather than what's right and what's wrong, they're all there for a reason. The part was created at a time in your life based on the circumstances. Then the other part, which is the protector, which is the triggered, sensitive, fiery thing, or maybe they can come in these more incognito ways, these ninja ways. Maybe it's you turn to booze and alcohol because you don't want to feel the pain. So they can come in these different forms, and it's identifying, okay, there's the part that when I was 6 years old, this happened, and that poor little thing that then created this whole, and then the protector, which is a tendency to kind of try and look after that part, is there. So it's just learning to understand what makes you, and through compassionate self-inquiry, work with those parts. And there's no good or bad. It's just the way you've learnt to tolerate life to this point in time. It's a really beautiful way to kind of self-reflect.
Yeah, it reminds me of the guy that was on the TV show, the dad that died. Do you know the show I'm talking about? He was the
Okay, there's a TV show and a dad died.
in real life he died, so they had to stop filming.
Oh,
It's called My Wife and Kids or
8
something.
Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter.
That's the
Oh,
one. So
right.
that bloke talks about his DMT trip,
Oh, okay.
and he was at a table, and like there was like I think it was like an anger or fiery one, and all of the people at the table, they were his emotions.
Yeah, that's right.
It was the
Exactly
anger
right.
that had taken over, and he had to go, hang on,
Yeah.
I don't need that anymore.
It's powerful,
Yeah.
man. So it's like, so you learn to almost talk to the part like you did with the inner child work. You work with the part, and it's exactly like the inner child work, but like with the manager that's unrelenting, you're like, you know, what would help you to, you know, what would happen if you took a holiday?
Yeah.
What would happen if you just chilled out a little bit and you just learn to tone that voice down a little bit, you know, and that's a powerful thing to do as well.
And I probably phrased it incorrectly when I said good or bad things, but things that lessons, I guess, that I had learned.
Or what's
And like
helping.
one, for example, was living with imbalance of my ego and my intuition, and because the ego will blind your intuition because you'll see the fears and the negative outcomes and the what ifs, but then your intuition will guide you into a better gut feeling of what is the correct path for you.
That's right.
But to live in balance with the two, because that ego's
that's
there.
important
It's
for a reason.
there to serve a purpose. You know, like we live in that sort of 3D world where if I walk in front of a car, I'm going to die. So I need to understand there's negative consequences to certain
That's right.
actions. So, but it's following your gut is quite important as well, and your intuition.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's nice to touch on that because at one point in time the ego was your enemy, and the ego's bad, and control the thoughts, and it's like no, just learn to observe the whole fucking thing, and you learn to take a sit back and watch the whole thing play out, the thoughts, the emotions. You're not judging them, you're just working with them. Is this thought helping me in this moment? No, it's not. Well, then let's let it go. Come back to the present moment, calm the nervous system, and let's flow and enjoy this moment. And it's just a continual sort of thing, isn't it?
It's balance.
Yeah, that's right.
We've mentioned it 30 times in this episode, and probably the last 6 months we've mentioned it a lot. It comes down to balance of health and diet, balance. It's always balance. It's nothing in absolutes is something I've been saying quite a lot.
Yeah.
And it is just concentrate, dividing your time equally and energy, more importantly, equally amongst the things that need it.
That's right.
When they need it.
And that balance bit, like if we were talking back to the beginning about our bodies. So once upon a time it was, okay, get strong and core and glutes, and everyone's walking around like these tense fucking, things on protein shakes and whatever else, and that's fine. And then, Peter O'Sullivan came and flipped it. No, we just need to be these gooey, flowy, calm things. And it's like, that, what's going to happen in the storm if you're just this, when shit gets real in life? Are you just this floppy? You're going to bend over and just take it, It's like, no, we want to be strong, and we want to have a good, strong backbone and resilient and robust, yet we want to have the skills to be able to flow when we need to flow. So again, it's that yin yang, and that's balance. And that's what I feel, how I love to work with people. It's let's get the tools to calm the nervous system and flow and have that essence of fluidity, but then let's also build a fucking strong body and a body that we can trust when shit's going to hit the fan. And again, that's my take on how we can achieve these really robust kind of
Sounds
bodies.
like 70% of the battle is changing a mindset.
Yeah.
Almost everything
I
that
would
we
say
spoke to is a
probably
mindset
even
of
more
what
than-
you're believing.
Probably
and-
even more than 70%. And then on the coming back to the intuition, it's definitely something I've found to be most effective, and I'm always most diligent with my meditation practices when I have a big decision to make, and it's learning to quiet the mind and get back to this bit deep within yourself, your true essence, unwavered by the conditioned mind, because the conditioned mind is so complicated based on all of your experience. What's right, what's wrong, who knows? Let's get back to this gut feeling, that intuition, maybe your soul, whatever exactly you want to call it, your heart. but that gut, it's in there. You know what to do. When we can learn to let go of the thoughts, get out of our way, you're going to know what to do. But it comes with the skill of quietening the mind and doing that.
Since I've been making decisions based on my gut feel, my intuition, my heart, the results have been incredible.
Yeah, it's the best advice. Yeah, sorry, keep going.
Well, no, but when I don't act on it and I go against it, it's like, it's like the universe just throws shit in your face and goes, mate, fuck. You said you this is what you can see it. You can see it's happening.
Yeah.
And I often use, like my divorce as a perfect example. Like you see the signs early enough, you don't take actions. Fucking the universe steps in and fucking takes control,
straight out, man,
rips it out, and it's usually violent as well.
That's the listen to the whispers, before the bricks come, and it just come back to me with the hero's journey. So Joseph Campbell, that's his work, the hero's journey, and his main thing is if you've got the courage to follow your intuition, the universe will carve out this yellow brick road, and again, Wizard of Oz,
seeing it,
dude,
in real time,
literally, man. And I've done the same thing when I left working for other bosses, and they were fine. They were great, had great aspects and other bits that weren't, in line with my way of doing things. And I just wanted to start my own clinic. And when you just go, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to have a holistic approach, and no one's going to tell me what's right or wrong. And you just have the courage and you go for it, and the universe goes, yes, I like this. And it just, you can feel, it's like it's pushing you in that direction. You can't argue with it, it's a beautiful thing. So that's a big chunk of Joseph Campbell's work again, and that hero's journey is just following that intuition. It's the best thing you'll ever do.
Yeah. It's even happened with this podcast and the amount of episodes. Like the other day, I was literally gonna email Delby, message Delby, and say, mate, I really want to just fucking. I know we came up with this concept that potentially staggering episodes was going to be more beneficial, but I had this gut feeling we need to be
just
putting
rip in.
We just need to just keep doing it,
Yeah.
and I was like pushing against it, and then I got like 6, 7, 8 messages of like potential guests to come on, and I went, fuck it, let's just
cut the
do
brakes.
it. And I just told Delby about our next 5 or 6 on Saturday night, or last night. I told Delby about our next 5 or 6 guests, and he was like, fuck, bro, that's like, we've got some good guests over the next 5, 6, 7, 8 days.
Nice, man.
And we just, fuck it, I'm just putting them out that day. Bang, this will go out tonight.
Just keep going.
And the downloads are going really well. Everything's
Look, you guys
going.
are flying. It's exciting, eh?
Things that logically sometimes you go, maybe we should do this. You just listen to your gut, and it just ends up paying off. I can't explain the things that I've been seeing in every aspect of life.
That's
lately.
right. Yeah.
Unless it's selling fringe tickets at the moment.
That's hard. It's fucking hard.
Cost of living at the moment is rough.
But that's also
Compared to last year.
man. I'll grab one of
it's a good
those.
show,
Keen, man.
Yeah, it's,
you're also with that. That's relying on someone else. Not that it is like you can sell the tickets. I guess that's something that you could take responsibility for.
It's hard to sell tickets, in Perth.
Yeah, so last year was like, I've got a bigger venue this year, so I just was like, the natural progression is I'll sell
That's
way
right.
more, but cost of living is the first time I've noticed it with ticket sales. Like, it is very evident.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
It's a thing.
right now it's very evident.
Yeah,
So
no,
we'll
I
see
feel
what
you.
happens.
I feel you, man. It'll be
But
fun.
I'm still doing very, very well.
Yeah.
So, like,
It'll be good.
Just not 100 seats instead. It's like 50.
Nah,
Yeah.
let's crank it. When's the show?
Friday, Saturday. Well,
This week?
yep.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I think Thursday is at Balmoral.
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday at Hellenic.
Sick, man.
So, yeah. Got 4 tickets for date night comedy, but got 44 for my solo. So,
All right, get around that. I'm fucking keen.
Get involved.
That sounds good.
I don't know what your guys' times are like.
We're pretty. I reckon we've covered a fair bit of ground.
Yeah, cool.
Yep. We can wrap up. I've got to go get a couple to sign their paperwork.
Oh, beautiful. Is there you've dropped that. Anything you want to plug while you're here, mate?
Oh, look, the physio is going well. Dutch physio, if anyone needs to be bloody looked after in that
We're up
one.
in Lansdale.
That's, up that way, exactly. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, good man.
Lansdale Primary.
Yeah, it's a fucking beautiful area, hey?
Yeah.
It's been beautiful.
Very
yeah,
nice.
Dutch is a great little spot. And Centre Space Yoga Studio just over there. Everyone needs to explore how we can look after ourselves a little bit better. And that place, it's such good.
What suburb is it?
North Perth, over
Perth.
the hill, literally.
Yeah.
Centre Space, just the black shop on the corner, the yoga studio there.
Cool.
But I would say, man, we're about to do this 9D breath work, which is like we're going to do the big trauma release one. And you got goggles on, so you can't see anyone around you. You got these headphones on, and it's like this full, expansive, multi-dimensional, it's like you've got epic music that has these kind of binaural beats that drop you into a meditation and this guided trauma release breathwork journey. And with the headphones and the goggles, you're in your own world, so there's less. Sometimes it can be a bit of a put off if you hear that person having a big release over there, and it can trigger you a little bit or put you off. But this, you're in your own little world, and it's going to be facilitated by a couple brothers, Alan Ward and Liam Malloy. They have their Perth Amend, their kind of brotherhood work that they're doing. This is for men and women and whoever, but if you're interested in exploring, can we let go of some more stuff?
Yeah.
You got to do it, man. If you've had this curious kind of journey and psychedelics and things, I would say it's worth exploring the breath work. That's a good opportunity to do it. We're going to do that in a couple of weeks, but just keep an eye out for little breath work, things like that, and whatever else.
I'm keen to give it a go.
Give it a go, man. Yeah. I'd love to have you down.
I like the idea that it's got the...
Yeah, I thought you might.
You don't see other people.
It's sick,
That's
man,
better.
honestly, and there's people holding space, so it's like... If someone's having a really tough time, it's still safe, but you're in your own little world within that safe environment. And again, I think that appeals to a lot of people because it might be a put off. There might be this really hot chick next to you, and you don't want to fully let go.
Legit,
legit.
Yeah.
Whereas she didn't hear what you did, you didn't hear it, and you come out of it with with a big smile on your face and go, "How'd you go?" It's a pretty exciting thing to be happening there, so
give it a go.
I'll keep you guys posted.
Definitely, I'm definitely keen to try this breath work. I can consult my guidance as much as I want, but I think if you've got someone who knows what they're talking about, like yourself. I mean, Jade McDonald Rasby, the next former guest we had on, she's running her own breathwork clinic this weekend, so tickets are sold out. But
there's a lot going on
it's such a interesting space. And I think there's a lot more to it than a lot of people realise. So.
Look, my take on it is it's very effective and it's the cleanest, most efficient way to have a big therapeutic experience as opposed to a 10-hour psychedelic journey. You're in, you're out, you're in control. And I think that it's something that's worth.
And you don't have to see a drug dealer to do it.
You don't have to,
You're your own drug dealer.
Yeah,
exactly right. So that's it, man. No, thank you guys for having us on. It's good
Awesome,
chat.
It's been awesome.
Yep.
Delby, you got anything to plug,
guys? I got so many shows, so just come. Daniel Delby in Fringe World. Take your pick. Hose Rhyme, Date Night Comedy. 33 is single. The Confessional or Sesh Stories. Get around it. I Wanneroo people. There's 100 tickets sold. There's 100 left. Both for date night. So if you're north of the river, at Leapfrogs next Thursday, the 11th, I think it is.
Nice.
I had something I wanted to plug or say, but I can't remember what it is. But
now's not the time.
No, definitely doesn't need to be said.
Sounds like you'll be back on tomorrow or the next day.
Get around the podcast. Just support us in any way.
Click the subscribe button now that you're at the end of it, or follow.
Yep. Get to our YouTube channel. We're on Twitter now. Right. So that's pretty cool.
Yes.
And
got
garbage
87 notifications.
Garbage human. Sorry, he keeps sharing our stuff, so you will get a lot more.
That's right.
But yeah,
cool.
Sick. Thanks for all your support and thanks for coming on, mate. It was
Thank you guys. Well done.
Bloody ripper.